One of the reasons that we are surrounded by fearmongers is because the Democrat Party of yore no longer exists. The Democrat Party of your father, your grandfather is long gone. It has been altered, modified, transmogrified by radicals, extremists, the most important of whom is, of course, Saul Alinsky, the first quote-unquote community organizer, the man who wrote the seminal work, Rules for Radicals. In it, he gives the 12 rules that extremists can use to take over any nation, especially America. And number 12 is what we are witnessing every single day. If you're brave, if you're a patriot, 12 says you look at your enemy, you pick the individual, you treat them as a target, you freeze, personalize, and isolate them, and you try and destroy them. One man who's lived through all of that to tell the tale and is fighting even harder every single day is a great patriot from Ohio's 4th Congressional District. We welcome to the Reality Check, Congressman Jim Jordan.
Sebastian, good to be with you.
Congressman, let's start with, I'm trying to connect the dots here. This clearly is not the Democrat Party of 20 years ago or even 10 years ago. I look at what's happened to you. I look at what happened recently to Matt Gaetz, to Lauren Boebert, to Marjorie Taylor Greene. This really, when you don't have good policies, the other side of the aisle tries the politics of personal destruction, and you've lived it, correct?
Yeah, no, you're exactly right. What are they going to talk about? They're going to talk about the chaos on the border. They're going to talk about the 31-year high in inflation. They're going to talk about the fact that, gasoline, we were an energy independent country under President Trump. Now we got the President of the United States begging OPEC to increase production. They have to attack their enemy. But what concerns me most is this is an attack on the Constitution and specifically the First Amendment, because today's left, it's no longer do they believe in the First Amendment. Let's have a debate. You make your argument. I'll make my argument. We'll see which policy, which argument carries the debate, the day. No longer do they do that. Today, it's if you don't agree with me, the left says, if you don't agree with me, you're not allowed to speak. And if you try, they're going to call you a racist and try to cancel you. That is how the left operates. And it again comes from this book that was put out a while back on their rules. But this is frightening, and it's changed in the last decade. I always say, Sebastian, Dennis Kucinich is a friend of mine, and he's a lefty, but he's an old school liberal who believes in the First Amendment. Today's left doesn't do that, and that is frightening. And that's why you can't work with the left today. No way can you work with the Democrat Party controlled by the left. You just have to stop their crazy policies.
Yeah, that's one of my rules. That's Dr. G's rule number 1. You do not negotiate with radicals or extremists. You've got a new book out. It's called Do What You Said You Would Do, Fighting for Freedom in the Swamp. I want everybody to check it out and order it because it's really the inside story of what it takes to continue fighting like you do. But let me just read to you part of Alinsky's rule number 12 that you've lived through. Cut off the target's support network. Isolate that individual from sympathy because people can be hurt far more easily than institutions. Now, I don't want you to give away everything that's in the book, but tell us how you've lived that assault on yourself as an individual and what it takes to keep on fighting for America.
Well, the main thing you have to do is realize the mainstream press is going to lie about you. They're just going to make up the lies, or someone else is going to lie, and then they're going to come after you. In fact, I tell my colleagues, I said, if the mainstream press isn't saying something bad about you, you ain't doing anything any good. The individual who got this the most, and I talk about this in the book, is President Trump. They made up everything about President Trump, including the whole Russia collusion narrative and the whole crazy impeachment. That the first impeachment based on the Ukrainian phone call. So this is crazy how they operate. But our job is to stand for the truth, to stand for the Constitution. And here's the good news. When you do that, when you point it out, when you're bold, when you're courageous, other people follow. Courage is contagious. And we saw that play out in Virginia. when, as you know, moms and dads stood up and said, we don't want this crazy, racist, hate America curriculum taught to our children. We saw that with 12 jurors in Kenosha, where they said, we're going to follow the facts. We're going to follow the truth. We're going to adhere to due process. We're going to respect the Second Amendment. And we got the right decisions in both of those situations. So that's how you beat it. They're going to lie about you and come after you. That's just the nature of the game today. In fact, I tell people who are interested in running for office, I say, get ready. Because if you're going to fight for the things worth fighting for that make our country special, you're going to get attacked.
Yeah, well, you are definitely in the crosshairs with a handful of Freedom Caucus patriots. Congressman Jordan, I want your prognosis, your expectation, because the midterms in a political time span are light years away still. They can do a lot of damage. One of the wisest political minds alive in America today, Newt Gingrich, says the level of extremism, the level of radicalism by today's Democrat Party is a result in part because they know they're going to get shellacked. Nancy Pelosi isn't even confirming if she's going to run again. She's just bought a $24 million house in Florida on the beach. Poor Ron DeSantis. But how much damage can they do? What will be left for people like you? I mean, God bless, I hope you become the chairman of the Judiciary Committee after the midterms. But aren't we in a race to stop them destroying as much as possible?
Yeah, no, well said. We got to push back in any and every way we can right now. I do think former Speaker Gingrich is right. I do think we'll take back the House, and I think we'll take back the Senate in next November's election. But they can do a lot between now and then. I mean, who would have ever thought you would, one of their policies would be to defund the police? Some of their members even talk about getting rid of the police. Maybe the dumbest idea I've ever heard. Who would have ever thought that they would just have an open border, completely open border policy? We don't have a border today. So who would ever thought the President of the United States would be begging OPEC to increase production while they're badgering American companies to decrease energy production? Who would have ever thought the President of the United States would go out and say, oh, if we spend $2 trillion more, it will help inflation? There's not a rational person on the planet who believes that. So, yeah, they are radical. We have to do everything we can to slow them down, to stop them. And most important right now, let's hope Senator Manchin and Senator Sinema will keep their word, that they will do what they said they would do and not vote for this crazy $2 trillion package that's going to do more Green Deal stuff, more tax increases, and add to the already 31-year high inflation rate.
Given what you've gone through, Congressman, in the last few years, the attacks on yourself, what is your message? I want everybody to read your book, but what is your message right now to those who are maybe considering running for the local school board or some kind of municipal position, but look at what you've gone through, what Matt Gaetz, Lauren Boebert, what MTG have gone through. What's your message to those Americans who love America?
It's worth it. The country is worth it. And there are so many great people in this country who love the idea that we have a constitution, that the people who are supposed to make the rules in our constitutional system are the ones who go put their name on the ballot and get elected. It is a great country. Don't back down from doing the right thing and running for office and standing up for the principles and values that make America the greatest country ever. I mean, you look at our history. Someone said this. Every third generation in this country has had to do something big. I mean, you think about the founders and what they did when they declared why we were going to be an independent country and what they had to overcome, the greatest military in the world. They did it. 3 generations later, Lincoln and the Americans then held the country together, got rid of the evil of slavery. 3 generations later, America defeated Imperial Japan and Nazi Germany, the evils that those 2 institutions represented, those countries represented. And we won this, the greatest generation won that war. And now here we are, 3 generations later, and the assault is from the radical left. We have to step forward and do our part like previous generations of Americans have done. I think we're up to the task. And again, we saw it start to happen in Virginia. We saw it start to happen in Kenosha. I'm encouraged by all that.
God bless you. A fabulous message. Everybody, the book, you can get it right now, is Do What You Said You Would Do, Fighting for Freedom in the Swamp. Follow this man on Twitter. We need more Jim Jordans. And after the midterms, I'm looking forward to seeing a chairman of the Judiciary Committee called Jordan.